What's up, guys? It is Teach Me Tuesday, and today I get this question asked a lot. A lot of people ask me, what are the benefits or perks of being a first time home buyer? So, if you are a first time home buyer, or if you desire to own your own home at some point and you don't own a house now, let's talk about the benefits and perks of being a first time home buyer. If you don't know me, my name is Wilmot Berry with the Berry Group, brokered by EXP Realty, and I have my favorite team right here, the Abraham Group right here. I'm gonna let them introduce themselves.
Yep. So I'm
Hey,
LaShawn Abraham. I am the first half of our duo team here, along with my husband, Gavin Abraham. I am a mortgage loan officer and producing branch manager here with now serving clients at New American Funding.
yep. Gavin Abraham, loan officer, and just excited again to be here to give the people some nuggets and some jewels about the real estate and mortgage industry. Let's get it.
Yeah, so this is such a great topic. I think all of us probably equally get asked this question a lot. A lot of times ours come in the a form of, I'm a first time home buyer. What programs you got, or what kind of grants I can get, or what discounts or exemptions are available for first time home buyers. So I'm definitely happy that we are tackling this topic because a lot of times people may have heard some things, or over time things may have changed and we don't know what's out there, what's available, who does it apply to. And so today that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to get into that. So without further ado, Gavin, I guess in general, what is a first time home buyer? Does it mean that you never own a house? Does it mean that you're truly buying for the first time? Can you kind of
That's what I
explain
mean.
that?
That's what it sounds like to me. I mean, but no, that's first time home buyer means that you're really. It depends on the program. First time home buyer for, let's say, someone who's buying FHA, can be someone who just doesn't own a home, who doesn't own a primary residence. You are considered a first time home buyer using a FHA loan. Um, to show that that's your primary residence. You're buying that home as a primary home you're going to live in. You could have owned a home, 2, 3 years ago, sold it, whatever, but now you are a first time home buyer. Um, and it gets, of course, more technical when it comes to, like, conventional. LaShawn, I'll let you jump in there and kind of give that rundown.
Yeah, so conventional loans are a little different. What they consider a first time home buyer is based on a specific time period, and that time period is 3 years. So if you haven't owned a home in the last 3 years, then they technically consider you a first time home buyer. Now, normally, if you already own a home, and let's say you retain that home, you decided to keep it, but then you still want to purchase another house, like as your primary residence, then technically they don't consider you a first time home buyer anymore. So it gets very, very kind of like specific, like if this, then that, then this, then that, or whatever you're considered it. But nevertheless, I always try to tell people at the end of the day, it really is not your job to try to figure out who you are, what you qualify for, what's available. It's really your job to just trust in the people that you are working with to assist you. And we will help educate you and find out which program considers you a first time home buyer and what's available to you at that particular point in time. So don't
Mhm.
kind of worry yourself truly about the technical definition of who, what, when, where, how, why, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
Go
So
ahead,
yeah.
Will. Go ahead.
I
Add it.
guess I guess to clarify something for some people, because I think a lot of times when they ask me that question, when I say like FHA or and they don't really know the benefits of an
Right.
FHA loan, can you explain some of those benefits of a FHA loan for a first time home buyer?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you want to take that one, Gavin, or did you want me?
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, FHA loan allows you to put down pretty much a minimum down payment. That's first of all. Conventional, in some instances for first time home buyers, you can go as low as 3%, but typically sometimes it's either 5% if you're not a first time home buyer. But FHA is 3.5%.
Mm.
So 3.5% down of whatever purchase price that you're at. So that's one of the many benefits is the lower down payment, and then you sometimes can benefit from uh, different down payment assistance programs. Um, such, right now we have South Carolina Housing. Um, we also have other zero down programs for first time home buyers, people who are purchasing primary residence um, with an FHA loan as their primary home. Um, yeah.
Yeah, so guys, so just to put this in numbers, right? So for instance, if you're buying a house and it's $200,000,
Mm-hmm.
3.5% of 200,000 is $7,000 of a down payment you will have to put down on that particular home.
That's
Okay,
correct.
so
I like that. I like that a lot. And so what I've heard here is, and what I try to do as well is just try to make things, as simple as we can probably try to, because a lot of times I feel what ends up happening is the word first time home buyer and down payment assistance, they kind of get all like
mm,
married together. And so a
mhm,
lot of times people think that, okay, I'm a first time home buyer. What programs, what assistance, what grants, what incentives are available to me because I'm a first time buyer,
yeah,
right? And
yeah,
so I think a lot of times it's um, really explaining that to a first time buyer or somebody who haven't
Mm-hmm.
bought in a long time, the differences between the two and what's applicable to whoever. So technically, when it comes to being a first time home buyer, the reason that term is probably used a lot is because usually when you're a first time buyer, the stigma is, okay, you might not have as much money saved, because a lot of myths are out there that you need 20% to buy a house. And when you're a first time home buyer, most of them don't have 20% to buy a house, and
mhm,
so they're a little bit more favorable to do an FHA loan or a conventional loan with only 3% down, because it's less money out of pocket for someone that's kind of just starting that process of buying a house. But when we talk about down payment assistance is usually, and I use my air quotes, it's usually available to first time home buyers.
mm.
However, you don't have to specifically be a first time home buyer to get down payment assistance.
Oh, that's good.
Um, but it is available mostly for those people who never owned a house before, or people
Mm-hmm.
who is purchasing a home as what Gavin said, their primary residence. So let's kind of talk about that. So we kind of touched a little bit on the down payment assistance. So generally, Gavin, what have you seen? I think you kind of mentioned that already. What type of grants or down payment assistance programs are generally available for people who may not own a house in the last 3 years, or usually are buying for the very first time? What do you normally see out there? Like, how much money are we talking about?
Yeah, I mean, as far as what's available, I mean, well, first of all, you got different loan types. So we know that USDA, and if we don't know, we're educating you now. USDA and VA loan types require no money down.
Mhm.
It's 0% as far as down payment. So there's no down payment on those programs. However, FHA for first time home buyers, which you only can get an FHA loan if you're buying a home as your primary residence. This is not to buy any kind of secondary housing or a vacation home. This is your primary residence. So I wanted to clear that up and make sure people know that that's FHA loan is strictly for buying a primary residence. And with the as far as the money that's out there outside of your zero down programs, state housing is offering an $8,000 grant. It also depends on what some programs are structured by the county, and they can offer more. Like state housing for their county first program offers, I think, 8,500 right now
Mm,
towards down payment. And if your purchase price isn't high enough to where your down payment is $8,000, like in the example Wilmot said, 7,000. Your down payment for $200,000 home is around 7,000. um, that additional difference that you're going to get in down payment assistance can go towards your closing costs, which that's another conversation. But you have closing costs and you also have a down payment. There's also different grants out there. We partner with South Carolina Origin that gives grants to first time home buyers. And those are like $2,000 grants, which is money that you don't have to pay back. Most down payment assistance programs are forgivable loans. They aren't just free money. You have to meet certain requirements, certain time frames that you either have to keep this home as your primary residence or whatever it may be to maintain those that loan and for it to be forgiven. But during that forgivable period, there's no payment, there's no interest. So yeah, there's other options there, and then the Palmetto Home Advantage program with state housing offers it based on percentage. You got 0% where you can take advantage of just a very lower interest rate. Then you can do a 3% option, and then also even up to a 4% option to put that covers 4% of the purchase price as opposed to just a 3.5 for a FHA loan.
Yeah,
So a
that's
couple
some good
different
stuff
options.
there. That's some really, really good stuff there. I think one of the other advantages for first-time home buyers is usually lower credit score requirements.
Oh yeah.
Usually, when you're a first-time home buyer, a lot of these programs like the FHA loans and even conventional, the credit score requirement is not as high. I think there's a lot of myths out there that you have to have, an 800 or 720 or 740 credit score in order to buy a house, and that's not true. These programs right here, in order for you to get in the door. So with FHA, at minimum, you're at a 580. If you want down payment assistance, then it needs to be a 620. 620 is also what's needed for conventional as well. Same thing for VA or USDA. Typically around that 580 to 620 mark is really what those scores need to be. You don't have to necessarily have the higher scores in order to do so. Now there are, always pros and cons to both, but just to get you in the door, to get you to buy that house, the minimum thresholds are not really that high.
I had a question for you, Will. I wanted to think about it from an approach of, those people who are first time home buyers who come and approach you. I know what they're looking for. What's the benefit to me? How does it like what is the difference when you have someone approach you that's a first time home buyer as opposed to someone who's purchased a home before? Like how is that conversation different? Are those people more like is it easier to talk to them and guide them, like because they're new to the process? Like talk about that experience.
I mean, it's funny you asked that question, Gavin, because there is a difference. For instance, I'm thinking about a lady right now who has a home that she's about to buy another one now. With her, they I guess with the people that have owned homes before, they understand the responsibility of a house and all the things that come with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I've noticed a difference after, I think after the fact, after they buy the home too, the questions that I get, uh, stuff like if things aren't working, right? They know that's their responsibility. The people that bought homes before.
All right.
But then, and don't get me wrong, it's not that you can't call your realtor and ask whether or not the seller can do something about something, but 9.9% out of 10, majority of the time that seller is going to say, hey, I've sold you the house, we agree, this is what it is, right? So, but I will say that the people that have owned homes, they don't ask as many questions, which I
Mm-hmm.
don't mind. And the people that haven't bought homes before, they just don't have they just do have a lot of questions. They're concerned about different things, and they want to make sure that they're not house poor. It's all those questions like that. Hey, I don't want my mortgage to be this high. And I say, hey, let's talk with your mortgage professional. I kind of have a general
Mm-hmm.
idea on what mortgages would be at certain price points. And I tell them this is general, guys. Like, this is not set in stone. You still, insurance and different taxes and things of that nature have to get, added in there. And I always try to refer back to my mortgage professionals for those numbers,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but they do ask more questions than my seasoned or people that have owned homes before. So
Yeah, and so I was really kind of like just pointing out because I was thinking about, of course, how first time home buyers, how they benefit from a lot of things in regards to the program options and what's out there for them, but also our benefit, how we, because we get to walk these people through a journey that have never experienced this before, and
absolutely.
we really have to hold a hand and teach them along the way and educate them and give them that comfort and feeling. And what we get on the back end, what we get from the benefit of first time home buyers, you know, we helping people make life changing differences for their families. So
Absolutely.
I know that that's one of the great benefits that we get as loan professionals and realtors.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, but Sean, anything else we want to touch on our list?
So just real quick before we wrap up today. So we talked about, the down payment assistance. We talked about who is a first time home buyer. One of the other favorable things that I think a lot of people just kind of overlook a lot of times with first time home buyers, one of the benefits is you get something called lower mortgage insurance. So on a mortgage loan, you have your homeowner's insurance, which is kind of like car insurance. Then you have mortgage insurance that's typically added into your loan if you're not putting down 20%. So whether you're doing an FHA loan or even if you're doing a conventional loan and not putting down that much money, there's mortgage insurance that gets added in there. But when you're a first time home buyer, one of the benefits that you get, that mortgage insurance is reduced. So then your payment typically is a little bit lower because that mortgage insurance is not as high. So that's definitely something to take into consideration as well. There's so many different benefits to being a first-time home buyer. In general, there's benefits to purchasing a home in general that we'll probably talk about on another episode. But just for the basics and the purpose of this Teach Me Tuesday episode today, we just wanted to make sure you guys had a full understanding of first-time home buyers and what's available to you guys. As always, if you guys have questions, we are definitely first-time home buyer specialists. I like to say that. I'll give ourselves that designation. We are specialists in this areas. We love working with first-time home buyers. We love the questions. We love, that whole hand-holding and walking you through the process. It is something that we definitely do not mind doing, and we love serving our community that way. So I think that's it for us today. We have a short and sweet episode, unless there's more y'all want to add.
No, I
Nope.
think that'll do it.
No?
That's it.
All right. Well, how can they find you before we wrap up? How can they find you, Mr. Berry?
Well, of course, on social media, Facebook, Instagram, also YouTube. But direct, you want to call me, just give me a call, shoot me a message. Numbers 803-347-3329. Again, 803-347-3329. Also, you can email me, willmine at theberrygroup.re.com. RE stands for real estate. So if you have any questions, you want to text me, email me, call me, I'll be more than happy to help you.
Always. And how about you, Mr. Abraham?
Man, just jump in the DMs. You know how we roll. You know how we go. But yeah, phone number 803-707-6809. Always here to help. Email our team at teamabraham@nafinc.com.
I absolutely love it. And last but not least, I'm thinking the only one on here doesn't have an 803 area code. I have an
803.
803 area code. So 843-303-8652. That has been my number for the last, I think, almost 20 years. I had this number for a very long time. I never changed it. So definitely reach out, as Gavin mentioned, to our team email, or you can always just apply. We bought our I don't know what it's called. I guess we bought our domain name. So teamabrahamlending.com. You can
Awesome.
definitely visit our website to definitely apply if you have any questions. So guys, until next week, we will see you guys again. I hope you guys have a great day.
Peace.